guys, thank you for tuning in to the Profound Podcast.
What's up? How's it going? My name is Jake Nash, and this is my beautiful fiance, Lexi. And we are, so excited to launch this first episode of this podcast. It's been something that's on our hearts for a while, and I think that it's going to be just an amazing time. So what do you say we introduce ourselves a little bit, talk about the podcast, and go from there? So tell us a little bit about yourself, babe.
Okay, my name's Lexi. Jake and I met in June of 2021 in Orlando, Florida.
Yep.
At Kaleo. Hopefully many people from Kaleo are tuning in, and they got to see the early times of our relationship. And so we met in June of 2021. We started dating in November of 2021.
Yep, November 4th.
November 4th. And we went to Blue Agave. We could talk about all the early things that happened, which maybe we will someday.
Yeah, maybe someday.
And we got engaged the next November of 2022. It is now May 2023.
Yep.
And we are planning our wedding in August. We're sitting in our future home.
Yep.
And we just know a lot of people who are in the same season of life as us. And Kaleo just creates marriages. What can I say?
Yeah. If you don't know what Kaleo is, it is a 9-week program through a student ministry called Stumo. It's awesome. It's where you learn how to grow in your faith with Jesus. And inadvertently, a lot of times, you also meet your future spouse there. So we have how many weddings this summer do we have for people that went to Kaleo? Oh man,
that went to Kaleo or met at Kaleo or anything. Just are involved?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 6. I think I can think of 6. Well, one of them's a friend. She didn't meet her fiance through Kaleo, but she did go to Kaleo. Let's just say it's just where the magic happens.
It's where the magic happens.
Even though it's not supposed to. Yeah. It's not allowed. Yeah. It's a rule. You don't date at Kaleo. We didn't date at Kaleo, but we
met there.
We met there.
And I think all of our bridal party is from Kaleo.
Yep.
Every single one of them. Except for maybe 1 or 2.
Yep.
So, yeah. Like I said, my name is Jake. And I, like Lexi said, we met this in the summer of 2021, dated for a year, and have been engaged. We got engaged in November. We're almost married, 2 months away. And so why don't we talk a little bit about this podcast, where the idea came from, and then we can get into the name, why we named it the Profound Podcast. So I remember it was, a few weeks ago. I was at work, and I was listening to the Kingdom Vision podcast, which is a dope podcast. If you've never heard of it, go listen to it. And it just really hit me that the host of that podcast, like he's just a young kid, young follower of Jesus, and all he does is talk about what's going through his life and what he's learning and what the Lord is doing in his life. And I was like, man, I would love to do something like that. I've always wanted to do a podcast. We're both very creative people. If you know us, we make music. You're a photographer, all that kind of stuff. And I always wanted to do a podcast. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was praying and I was like, God, I feel like this is a really a good opportunity, but I don't know what I have to offer anybody, to be honest with you. And I felt like the Lord was like, Jake, you are about to walk into a season of marriage and you could just talk about your daily life.
Yeah.
Like we have, listened to marriage podcasts, listened to relationship podcasts, but I've never heard of one. And maybe if there is one out there, you can send it my way. But I've never heard one that just brutally takes you through the day-to-day of, hey, we're getting married in 2 months. here's what we're going through.
Yeah, it's never in real time.
Right, exactly.
It's always like people who have been married for 40 years and have written books, and they're famous for being good at marriage.
Yeah.
And we're like we have no idea what we're doing, absolutely none, and we're doing our best, and we're gonna record episodes as they happen, not from a stance of like we're so wise, we know so much, we've learned so much, like learn from our mistakes. It'll be like we're making mistakes currently, and we don't we're just figuring it out and navigating it. So
yeah, we just like speaking to our friends that are married, our friends that are getting married. All of them has said like, man, this is such a hard time. It's a great time. It's a beautiful season of life, but it can feel really isolating. It can feel like you're the only one going through something. You're the only one who feels this way, the only one with these issues. And I think that that's a ploy of the enemy. I really do. I think that, marriage is a picture of the gospel, and the enemy hates that. And so he wants us to feel isolated. He wants us to feel like we are the only ones, and it's you against your spouse, and there's no one out there that feels the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lie. I know it's a lie. And so I thought, man, how cool would it be to do a podcast where we are just brutally honest?
Yeah.
Like, we're having a great week, or, hey, we got into a huge fight. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Totally.
And so I remember I called you and I was like, babe, what do you think about this idea? And I was nervous to tell you because I don't know, I was jazzed about it. And if you shut it down, it was going to break my heart. So what was that like for you when your first reaction to it?
I mean, it kind of just makes sense. Like, we would do a podcast.
Yeah, we really would.
Like, I saw some friends yesterday and I told them about it, and I was like super excited about it. And they were like, it just makes sense. Like, we bond over doing creative things.
Yeah.
We are Enneagram 4s, if you know what that means. Both of us are. And so, we love to do creative things. Jake loves making music. I love photography, music, interior design. Like, I love creative things like this. And so it just feels like a fun project that we can do together, but also will hopefully bless a lot of people. It'll bless us. It gets us talking. It gets, if we're going to talk about it, like, here we go,
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't really have an option to, not talk to each other because we're like, hey, we're doing a podcast on Saturday.
What?
We're going to talk to it.
Do we need to bring something up?
Yeah,
exactly. It forces us to which not like we don't do that.
No.
I think we have great communication, but I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. It's in real time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So it was kind of funny because, I told you about this on maybe a Monday or something, and you were really excited about it. And then I let it sit because I feel like if I have a good idea, I want to see if you think it's a good idea. So I let it sit for a couple days. Yeah. And I didn't talk about it. And then you were like, babe, so we're going to do this podcast. And my heart was like, like, she actually thinks that's a good idea. And so,
that's funny.
Yeah. So, we started talking about it. We saw some counsel from some friends, and everybody was like,
do it,
dude, do it. So I guess let's talk about where the name Profound came from. And that was your idea.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't my idea.
I feel like it was from
for
the Lord,
sure God's idea. We were we're kind of doing like a little bit of long distance right now. I'm living about a little over an hour away from Jake. So we spend a lot of our time on the phone because, hop in the car, call each other, just kind of, long distance people get it. Yeah. So I was driving and I don't even know what were we talking about?
We weren't talking about the podcast. We were just talking I don't even know. It was out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I just I don't even know. It's honestly kind of crazy that it kind of came to my mind. That's why I'm truly just sure it was from God. Is because I have never, ever, ever noticed this specific section of Ephesians 5. It's Ephesians 5:32. Ephesians 5 is a huge, piece scripture on marriage and what does it look like, and it's read at a lot of weddings, and but I feel like Ephesians 5:32 isn't really
right. Yeah.
I didn't even really have it memorized. I didn't even know I did. It just kind of popped into my head. So I'm gonna read Ephesians 5:25 through 32. And for some reason, we're in the car and God brought up verse 32, which I had never really thought about much at all. So Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That's usually where it stops.
Right.
That's through 31.
Yep.
Verse 32 is, this is a profound mystery, but I'm talking about Christ and the church.
Yeah.
This is a profound mystery. And for some reason, that verse just came to my mind. And I was like, that really captures what this is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the word profound really stuck out as like, it's a mystery. We're walking into the unknown. We've both never been married before. We're just hearing from other people and we're like, okay, we're going to try and do that too. And we're just going to do our best. But the word profound, I'll read some synonyms and the definition of that word as well, just to give some context. So profound, it says it's having intellectual depth and insight. It's difficult to fathom or understand, extends far below the surface, and it's characterized by intensity of feeling or quality, and it's all-encompassing and complete.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a picture of marriage for sure.
Right.
Like the word profound is like, it's outstanding, it's amazing, it's challenging, it's confusing, like it's profound. It's unlike any other relationship. Like we're reading the meaning of marriage right now by Tim Keller. Highly recommend to R.I.P. Tim Keller, which is so sad. He's with Jesus, so he's fine.
Yeah, he's good.
In that book, it says something about how marriage is the closest relationship that you will ever experience in your life. It's different than relationships with your kids. It's different from relationships with your parents. It is proximity wise, and you know, every other aspect should be the closest marriage. Closest relationship you have in your life. And so I think that in and of itself is unique and profound. And we're just going to talk about in real time the things that come up, things that we, you know, challenges and triumphs and things like that. And hopefully it can be a resource for people who, you know, can just listen to it and be like, wow, I'm so glad that they are going through that, because we went through that and I feel like we were the only ones, because that's just not true.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I don't think that it's wrong to isolate. Kind of has a bad sound. Like the word isolate sounds bad, but I don't think it's wrong to, you know, when you're newlyweds, to isolate. I think that that's okay to an extent.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, those might be the times when you are really trying to spend time with your spouse and being newlyweds and, you know, just giving as much time as you can to each other in the early start is where it can feel like we are the only ones going through this, and we're trying to like pour all this time into our marriage, but also, you know, things are kind of hard. And I mean, as they should be. It's a crazy big transition, you know, if you are really doing it in a God honoring way.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, marriage is everybody says marriage is hard. I mean, you're bringing two sinners together closer than they've ever been to anybody. And you're going to clash. I mean, we've already kind of seen like just the differences in how we go about life, just the differences in like, you do the dishes that way. That's kind of whack, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and we don't live together, and we're not, you know, we only get to see each other on the weekends right now. But like even in those differences, like there's going to be times when we butt heads, and we have a pretty open, like, you know, communication, and, you know, call each other out very frequently. But I think that, you know, just walking into this mystery, this profound mystery of a relationship that's unlike anything else. I mean, it's the closest relationship to Jesus and the church that we can get on this side of heaven. And that is a profound mystery. And so I think that a lot of people feel really scared in that. And alone. And so I think that calling it out for what it is of a mystery, and it's okay to not know everything,
Yeah.
and it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to struggle.
Yeah. True.
That's our heart behind this
Mhm.
podcast, is to just be really, really, really open, and
With boundaries, of course.
with boundaries. We're not going to
We're
tell
not-
you everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to be honest, and to let people in. And I think that, man, being vulnerable is one of the biggest ways to let people know that they're not alone.
Totally. Yeah. So there's a whole, like, as you have already heard, there's a lot of reasons why we're doing this. It's hopefully going to bless people who can relate. Hopefully it can bless people who desire marriage as well. Even, single people could listen to this. And, statistically, you will most likely get married. It's not a promise.
If you want to, you probably will.
If you have the desire and you meet people, I'm of course can't promise that, but, statistically speaking, you likely will walk through this season at some point in your life. And so, for those people, I think it could be interesting, and also just for us to, have a chance to share and talk. And we're just recording a conversation between the two of us. I mean, this sounds just like us talking on the phone or talking at dinner or whatever. You know what I mean? So just hopefully can be something that our friends, it's probably going to mainly be lots of people that we know at first, because
that's just how things work.
Everyone and their mom is getting married right now, but that's kind of just our heart behind it. And we've got already some topics brewing that we have for the next few episodes.
I'm really excited, and like you said, we have so many weddings this summer. Oh my goodness. And so many friends that are getting married. I think it's just, I don't know, the season of life that we're in.
Just feels right.
And so I feel like it can bless them. And also I'm really excited to bring some of our friends on the podcast and get some wisdom from them.
Totally.
One thing I want to say is, so we are both, we're both believers, we're both followers of Jesus. And we're gonna approach this. We believe marriage is a biblical concept. It's instituted by the Lord. The beginning of the earth, beginning of human existence started with a wedding.
Yep.
But with that said, you don't have to be a believer to listen to this podcast. I think that the biblical way of going about marriage is the correct way.
Yeah.
And my prayer is that even people who don't know Jesus, will listen to this podcast and get something out of it.
Totally.
So, I'm really, really excited. So yeah,
I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think it's interesting how, I feel like Christian marriage has a lot of, has a weird reputation of, like, you get married really fast and you just want to have sex. So you're just going to get married and you don't even think about it. And, like, I actually saw a really funny video of, like, what people say when you get married too young. And it's like older people being like, are you sure you can afford that? And are you pregnant? And, and it just has a lot of weird reputations, I would say. And so I think it's not ironic that research backs up God's way of marriage, which is so interesting to me. There is a ton. I went to CSU. I'm going to CSU. I'm not graduated yet. That sounded past tense, but there's so much research about why cohabitating with a significant other who is not your spouse can lead to higher rates of divorce.
Yeah,
and that is. I'm sure that you could find research studies that prove both sides, but that was presented in my Colorado State University course, like not in a biblical Christian setting. That was just, this is the research of, if you do this, it increases divorce rates by this much. And so, hopefully, even if you're, like, not fully sure about the whole Jesus thing, that this can still be, like, encouragement, because, we truly believe that God's way of marriage is a protective way. It protects you. It saves the good parts for the appropriate time. It, if you break up in a dating relationship that is God honoring, you are not absolutely shattered over it because there were boundaries and set. You did not form a mini marriage with this person. So even those kinds of things we can talk about of like, you know, we're so glad we had this boundary because in marriage, it has blessed us in this way,
Right.
you know? Because yeah, we were really strategic in boundaries in dating / are like, those are still there. And even though we're engaged.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how do those, what happens when those boundaries are gone? Like, what is that transition? Because we're going to have episodes on the front end of like, currently we have the boundaries, and then 4 or 5 episodes in, we won't have them.
Yeah, dude.
Like, what is that like?
That's going to be crazy.
So we'll get to talk about that in real time. And you know, that's not even just physical. I mean, we've got spiritual, emotional, like, well, physical, obviously, but like, what does that look like when we don't have boundaries and we have to be open? And we like, that's the part that's like, I think people don't talk about is like, okay, well, now we don't have this, you know, spiritual boundary anymore, but like, am I actually being honest with you about my spiritual life or no? Because you still have to like be pursuing the other person in that. It's not just like, oh, the boundary's gone, so I'm just going to keep going about my life. There's this big switch, there should be, you know?
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, and we're going to have to go through it with a lot of grace. And, but man, this is really exciting. And we're just, our heart is for not only us, but for you guys. And, just for anybody that listens, if you're listening, you know, God loves you. And, you know, if you're married, if you're struggling, if you're, you know, you desire to be married, I just pray that there's something in here that is, it is for you.
Totally. Yeah. Even if it's from somebody, a guest that we have on the podcast or something we recommend, or, you know, this book that we talked about, or just anything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you know, that kind of covers the intro. We are so excited to launch this. You know, to kind of preface everything, we don't know everything. So, you know, if we say something and you don't agree with it, that's okay. Like, we don't, we're not, you know,
doing our best.
We're just doing our best. And that's our whole, this is a profound mystery.
Yep.
And we're just trying to get through it together. So we are so excited, to bring you guys along with us and, see what this thing comes of. So yeah, if you see this podcast, share it with your friends. And we are just, man, so excited. I can't.
Ready to get started.
Ready to get started.
Yeah. So I guess we can, maybe we should give a little like sneak peek of the next few episodes of like ideas that we have coming.
Yeah, for sure.
So that you can get excited for what we have next. So, based on some recent conversations that we've had, our next episode or 2 episodes, maybe you haven't decided if it's going to be 1 or 2, is going to be about the journey and challenges of joining our lives spiritually and why we are boycotting the quiet time.
Yeah. So
if you understand Christianese, you know exactly what a quiet time is. And Jake and I are boycotting it in marriage, and we want to tell you why.
Yep. So tune in. We can't wait. We love you guys, and we will see you in the next episode. Time.